So, welcome, my curious minds. It's with a great anticipation and enthusiasm that today we are going to explore the most important topic of our life process, that is the circulatory system, and in which we'll understand the intricacies of arteries, veins, blood vessels, and the orchestrating heart. We'll understand the orchestrating organ heart, the blood vessels, arteries and veins, and blood capillaries. And the next part is lymph. This is something exclusive topic from this. And after understanding these four form the basis of our circulatory system. So this will understand the essence of the life sustenance and propagation. So let's start with the circulatory system. Now, the circulatory system, it consists of the heart, the network of blood vessels that move blood, and it transports the nutrients and oxygen along with the oxygen through the whole body. So circulatory system consists of mostly blood vessels, heart, which is a pumping organ, the pumping organ, and fourth one is the lymph. Now, after studying these four, after studying these three, we'll move to the lymph. Now, we'll start from the blood. So, as we know, blood is a fluid connective tissue. It transports all the components of our body. So, blood, we'll start with the blood. Now, blood is defined as fluid connective tissue. Now, this blood is a fluid connective tissue. It circulates throughout the whole body by the pumping action of our heart. So it circulates through whole body. It circulates by pumping action of heart. By pumping action of our heart. And in Quran also it's mentioned in the Quran that heart it's called markaz kehte hain. So it is the center, epicenter of our whole body. It's mentioned in Quran also. Now this blood, it comprises of two sections. One is plasma, another one is blood cells. Now this plasma is a fluid. It consists of, percentage is 55% out of the whole blood, and this remains 45%. Now this plasma is a fluid portion of our blood. It contains 91 to 92% of the water, some proteins, some hormones, and some clotting factors. So this plasma, it is having 91 to 92% water H2O. It consists of some plasma, some proteins. It's also having some clotting factors. It also consists of some hormones. So after this plasma will come to the blood cells. These blood cells, they are made up of RBCs, red blood cells, also called erythrocytes, WBCs, which are also called leukocytes, and there are some other types in the WBCs, the basophils, eosinophils, and there are lymphocytes. So, and third one is the platelets, thrombocytes. Now we'll study them one after another. So first we'll start with the RBC, red blood cells. We'll start with the red blood cells. Now, this was our blood. First one is RBCs. Now, RBC is also called erythrocytes. Second thing that is the most important about RBC is that these are enucleated, means they are without nucleus, and this RBC, which is enucleated, it's only in humans, and it's one more animal is there, that's camel. Camels have also enucleated RBCs. So it's enucleated biconcave. It's enucleated biconcave, and its shape is usually disc-shaped cell. So this RBC is enucleated biconcave and disc-shaped cell, and it appears red because of presence of hemoglobin. So because of this hemoglobin, it appears red. It appears red, and which in turn this hemoglobin is also having iron, which is in +2 state, means its oxidation state is +2. And we can also make a simple layman diagram, rough diagram for this. Suppose this is iron and it's in +2 state, it binds with this. Now this is the simple rough diagram of this hemoglobin, and its function is it transports oxygen. Hemoglobin transports oxygen. And now coming to the second part, that is white blood cells, WBCs. These are also known as leukocytes. And WBCs are usually large nucleated. They are having nucleus, and these are without nucleus. These are large nucleated cells. So these WBCs, they help in the defense mechanism of the body. They'll fight against the bacteria or the foreign antigen. So these acts as a defense mechanism. Defense mechanism. So in my defense mechanism system भी होता है, and mostly they usually that means they fight against a foreign antigen, and WBCs are usually colorless. They are colorless. Now coming to the third topic, that is platelet. Platelet are usually, these are cell fragments. Platelets are cell fragments, and they help us for they are having actually coagulating factors, and they help blood clot. They help in blood clotting. So platelets are also called thrombocytes. These are also called thrombocytes. These are the cell fragments. These are cell fragments, and they help in blood clotting. They help in blood clotting, and this was all about this basic blood blood types. Now after completing this part, we'll go to the functions of blood. Means what is the function of blood? It not only transports the nutrients and the metabolic waste back to the out of the body, but it also helps us in some other functions. So we'll see them one by one. So firstly, this blood. Now functions of blood. So the first function about blood is that it transports gases. Blood transports gases. It also transports some waste products, or we can say metabolic waste products. It also transports waste products. And it also transports some certain hormones. They are also transported to the blood, because blood is considered as a sea of our human body. It transports certain hormones or enzymes. Okay, it also maintains our water balance and pH. That's power of hydrogen. Maintenance of water balance. Maintenance of water balance, comma, it also maintains the pH, and it also acts as the body defense. It's also having that body defense mechanism. body defense. So these are some certain, some several types of these functions of blood. That means it transports gases, it also transports waste to protect us, it transports certain hormones or enzymes, maintenance of water, balance of pH, and the body defense. Now coming to the blood vessels, these blood vessels are, they are just like tubes. Blood vessels are just like tubes. These blood vessels are the pathways. They are tubes in which blood flows. Blood vessels, blood vessels are the tubes. Blood vessels are tubes in which blood flows. Now, there are usually three types of blood vessels. First one is arteries. Second one is venous. Third one is blood capillaries. Capillaries. Okay. Now coming to the first one, that is artery. So there's a trick. I made a trick, simple trick, that is A square. A square is a trick. So artery means away. A means artery, A means away. So this means artery means away from heart. Away from. And these are arteries are the tubes. These are the blood vessels which take the oxygenated blood away from heart. But there is one exception for this. That is pulmonary artery. This always takes deoxygenated blood. Pulmonary artery. We'll study about this in the. Their blood pressure is high, therefore they are always, their walls are always thick and more elastic. Thick. Now in the venous, they carry blood towards heart and they carry deoxygenated blood. Deoxygenated blood. Their walls are usually thin in nature. And they are also having these valves present in order to prevent the backflow of blood. Now coming to this blood capillary, it always mixes oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. It also transports substances and exchanges them. Exchanges substances. So this is the major difference between these three. Now coming to our major distinction, we'll differentiate these three parallelly. So firstly we will take arteries, then we'll differentiate it with venous, then with the blood capillaries. Now arteries always carry oxygenated blood away from heart. Now veins carry deoxygenated blood towards heart, and blood capillaries, it mixes both. It carries both. Carries both. Now since this carries oxygenated blood and the blood pressure is usually high, therefore blood pressure is very high, so it needs some its inner walls are usually thick in nature and they are more elastic. More elastic. Its blood pressure is usually quite low, therefore its walls are usually thin and less elastic, and this having the normal. Its one cell is usually thick. Its one cell is usually one cell thick and normally it is thin in nature. It's also having values are usually absent. Now, since why values are absent? Because they are having high blood pressure, the oxygen or the nutrients or the blood itself, it flows very faster in a fast, furious way in these, so they don't need any value in order to support this, in order to prevent the backflow. But here values are present in order to prevent backflow of backflow of blood. About this vein, and these are the values. They help blood to go upwards, and they will prevent its backflow. Now, here values are also absent. Now, last part, that's the cavity, lumen part. Lumen is usually narrow. Here, lumen is broad, and here it's also narrow. Now, what is this lumen? It is simply a cavity or it is a space in any tubular structure. किसी भी tubular structure में space जो बीच में होती है, that's called lumen. And here it's very broad, and in both artery as well as blood capillary, it's not broad. So this was all about the differentiation of these. Now we'll move to our most integrated topic, that is heart. So let's start from that. Now we'll come to the topic of heart. So heart is our pump. Heart, it's our pumping organ. So this human heart, this is its diagram. So this heart is having four chambers, right atria and left atria. These are two upper atrias and two lower ventricles, right and left. And it's also having one pulmonary vein, and it is the exception of venous, that venous carry deoxygenated blood, but this carries oxygenated blood, and this carries deoxygenated blood. And now this is aorta, and it is the part of this it's the part of this heart. And after completion of one cardiac cycle, this brings blood to the aorta and out to the every cell or organ. And these are the superior and inferior vena cava. These are vena cava or vena cava. And upper one is the superior vena cava, and lower is the inferior vena cava. Now this is the basic of this diagram. Now coming to our main part, heart. Heart is a muscular organ. It's located in the chest cavity, right below the lungs, and it's also positioned slightly towards the left side in the thoracic cavity. It's in the center towards left side, and it's covered by a layer that's called a pericardium. So it's covered by a layer, pericardium. Now this heart is having four chambers, two upper chambers and two lower chambers, two upper atria and two lower ventricles. And these atrias are the receiving stations. These are called receiving stations, and ventricles are called pumping stations. So firstly, the lungs will bring oxygenation blood. Lungs will bring oxygenated blood. There will be oxygenated blood into the left atria through pulmonary vein. Now the oxygen is here. Now there is a value, bicuspid value, or it's also called a mitral value. Now after this blood, once it reaches left atrium, it will contract. This left atrium will contract this its part, and it will push the oxygenated blood into the left ventricle. Once it reaches in left ventricle, it again contracts and it pushes it through this aorta, and it goes out of the heart, and it goes up to the cells or organs. We can say cells. Now every cell will receive this oxygenated blood, which is loaded with oxygen. And now this whole part is, this is red part, because the left part, it's oxygenated blood. the pump of oxygenation blood occurs in the left part. Now in the right side, what happens? So for this we need to erase this. Actually, the cells which are below this heart, these give the carbon dioxide, or we can say the deoxygenated blood, and this deoxygenated blood will be, it will pass through the through the inferior vena cava, and from the upper part, these upper cells will bring the deoxygenated blood via superior vena cava, and in both directions we are taking carbon dioxide or deoxygenated blood into the right atrium. Therefore, these both are receiving stations. This receives oxygenated blood, and right side receives deoxygenated blood. And once it receives this blood, it pumps this blood into the right ventricle after contraction, and this via this value, this called tricuspid value, and this is a tricuspid value wherein the blood is being pumped by right atrium into the right ventricle, and after dilation now it again contracts, and it will push this blood through pulmonary artery back to the lungs for oxygenation. Now it will bring the deoxygenated blood to the lungs for oxygenation, and here we can also see that this is also called a double circulation, means one side is pulmonary circulation and second part is the systemic circulation, and this can comprise of double circulation, wherein we have seen that for oxygen to reach into the left atrium, it has to pass through pulmonary vein, and then it contracts itself and it pushes the blood into left ventricle. Then in ventricle, this pushes the blood through aorta up to the each and every cell. Now, as we know, these cells are organs. They are having carbon dioxide in them. They it is a metabolic waste, and this need to be expelled out of the body. So this carbon dioxide will, from lower part of cell, it will go into the right atrium. From lower part of cell, it will follow the way of inferior vena cava, and from upper part of cells, these cells had our brain cells, each and every cell which is upside from the heart, these are received by superior vena cava, and this passes this oxygenated blood into this deoxygenated blood into the right atrium, and right atrium again pushes this into the right ventricle, and then this right ventricle shifts this blood out of the cell, usually out of the heart through pulmonary artery and up to the lungs. Now the blood has been shifted, it has been pushed to lungs, and this blood is usually the blood which comprises of carbon dioxide, and it's usually blue in color, and this is red in color. Therefore we can say there is also a trick for it, that is LORD, Lord means, L means left, O means oxygenated blood, R means right, and D means deoxygenated blood. Therefore, we can say the left part, this left part is oxygenated blood, and it is usually red in color. It's on page number 197 in your science, respective science books. And right side is usually deoxygenated, and we can make a remark from this that it's blue in color. Now this was the whole mechanism how blood is being circulated in our body. Now we'll make a quick difference between artery and ventricle. So if anyone wants to take a screenshot, you can. Now we'll understand the basic difference between artery and ventricle. As we know that arteria is it is thick-walled, arteria, and this one is ventricle. Now the arteria is simply, it's these are upper chambers, receiving stations, upper chambers, and ventricles are the lower chambers. These are thin walled in the heart, and these are think walled. And the third one is these arteries are usually receiving stations. Yes, they only receive blood. Now it depends. There is difference between the left and right. Left receives oxygenated blood and right receives deoxygenated blood. And this is the pumping station. These are the pumping stations. This is the basic difference between these. That means these receives blood, these pump the blood. This is the basic difference between these. And there is one more concept of this cardiac cycle. Sometimes it can be asked in the exam, what is this cardiac cycle? So cardiac cycle is simply, it is the sequence of events that takes place in one heartbeat. Cardiac cycle are the sequence of events that takes place in one heartbeat. Now this one heartbeat comprises of two beats. That means one is lub and another is dub. Now this lub dub is simply, for layman it is just like their dug 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 or duck 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 duck. It's just like duck duck duck. It is just like their duck 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 duck. In simple words, for scientific people and for the people pursuing science, it's lub and dub. Now, in one heartbeat, there is one lub and one dub, and this whole heartbeat, it is this whole event is called a cardiac cycle. One cardiac cycle, only one, which is only one heartbeat. And this is the basic difference between this. Now, the next part is that now we'll shift to another part, that is this working of heart. Means in a simple language, we will understand the working of heart. So for that, I need to rub this part and this part also. Now, as we know, these things are known to us. Now we'll understand this working of heart. Now, working of heart. For that, we'll make a simple illustration. This is lungs, and these are the four chambers of heart. These are right ventricle, left ventricle, simply. And this is cellular organ, we can say. Organs are cells. So the simple thing is that these lungs, they bring oxygenated blood to the left arteria and through a vein that's called a pulmonary vein. Simple. Now here is bicuspid value, as we know. Now the oxygenated blood, once it was in this left and it pushes it into the left ventricle, and now this ventricle, it brings the blood, oxygenated blood, to the each and every cell or organ, and it brings through aorta, simply. Now this organ, it will also have carbon dioxide and metabolic waste. It will bring this to the right arteria. So there are two for this, like superior vena cava as well as inferior vena cava. So this is simply vena cava, because we'll consider this organ is, if it is below the heart, it will bring this so the inferior vena cava. If it is upper from the upper part of heart, and it will bring the through the superior vena cava. Now this is vena cava. It brings us this carbon dioxide, that means deoxygenated blood, to the right atrium. There are three tricuspid values. So there is a tricuspid value which is having three values, and it will push it in the right ventricle, and now this right ventricle will bring it back to the lungs. Now this one is carbon dioxide and this was oxygen. Through its opposite is pulmonary artery, because these two are the exceptions, this and that are veins and arteries. Now this is the basic difference. This is the basic working of our heart, and this part is called pulmonary circulation. and this is called a systemic circulation. And this whole system comprises, it's called a double circulation. Now in the double circulation, in one single circulation, blood pumps through heart twice, and so it's called a double circulation. It's usually found in mammals, including us, as well as birds. It's Birds are also having four chambers, therefore they also follow the same double circulation, and mammals too. And there's a trick for this, means how you will remember, means who is having how much chambers. So I'll make a trick here, that is Param. Param. P means Pisces. Pisces means fishes. They are having two chambers. A means amphibians. They are having three chambers. Reptiles are also having three chambers except crocodile. Crocodile is having four chambers. And then aves means birds, they are also having four, and mammals, we people are also having four. So this is the basic, this is the trick is simply this PARM param. Pisces means fishes, amphibia means who are the organisms who live on land as well as water, just like frog. And then reptile is also, except the crocodile, it's having four chambers, then aves and mammals. Now in the two chambered, these fishes, there occur a single circulation simply because they are having two chambers, simply one and two, only two chambers, not with them. Now amphibians are having three chambers and reptiles also three. There occurs double circulation, but that one is incomplete. And in the aves and mammals, we are following this double circulation part, because we are having four chambers. Our circulation is complete; it's not incomplete. So this is the basic difference between these. Now, thanks. We'll move to the left in the next video. Now, coming to our next topic, that is blood pressure. Now, blood pressure is the pressure exerted by blood on the walls of blood vessels. So this is blood in the blood inside a blood vessel. Now this blood exerts pressure on its walls. So this is called a blood pressure, and it's measured by a device called sphygmomanometer, just like this. Nowadays it is a digital device, and its unit is mmHg, because Hg is the mercury. It's present inside this. It's metal, and its exception of metal is that it's liquid at every temperature. It can even resist to highly extreme temperatures, therefore it's used. And usually systolic and diastolic pressure is usually 120 by 80 mmHg. And systolic pressure is simply the pressure of blood inside artery during ventricular systole, and diastole is the pressure of artery, the pressure of blood inside artery during ventricular diastole. Systole means contraction, and diastole means relaxation. This is systolic pressure, and this is diastolic. Now the difference is simply this is contract and this is relax, simply. So this is the basic difference. Now we'll move, and there's one more concept of this: hypo and hypertension. Hypertension means simply high blood pressure. It occurs due to constriction of ventricles, these arterioles, and hypotension means low blood pressure. And hypertension is usually, it's triggered by usually salts, or sometimes the constriction of arterioles occur. And diastole is usually it's more prone in diabetic patients, because their blood is very, their blood flowing capacity is very low. So once blood flows in a very low pressure, so therefore we can say these people are also prone to hypotension. And hypertension is prone to those people whose arteries are very constricted. Now coming to the next topic, that is lymph. So lymph is an extracellular fluid or tissue fluid, you can say. It's formed because of leakage of blood vessels or plasma. So it's formed because of leakage of blood vessels or sometimes plasma, because it also resembles with the plasma. It's colorless. So this lymph is composed of also plasma. It's composed of proteins. It's composed of some clotting factors like platelets. It's composed of WBCs. So from these four, we can also get to the conclusion of its work. Means what is the purpose of this lymph in our body? So actually, what happens is, suppose this is a blood vessel. Now during cut, there's a cut in this blood vessel. There are cells also beneath this blood vessel. So the cells are also having these nucleuses. Now, these are the dermal cells. Now there is some space, this extracellular space. One of this lymph, it's leaked after a cut into the extracellular space of our cells. So these cells are circulated by lymph. So this is our lymph. Now after cut, this lymph is secreted due to leakage around the cell, and this it is transported into the lymph vessels. Suppose there are some lymph vessels here, so this lymph it will not be wasted, it will be transferred into the lymph vessels, and then it will flow back to the heart through blood vessels. Now the major function of this lymph is that it is secreted during any cut or whatever happens with our blood, and it's just simply it's the conclusion of the leakage. And now the function of lymph is that it sometimes it transports the fat. It acts in immune system. It's very helpful in the immune system. It also maintains the fluid balance. So firstly, it maintains the fluid balance. Second thing is, simply during it drains excess fluid from extracellular space back to the blood. And second thing is, it transports fat. So fat transport में भी ये help करता है. अब fat transport क्या है? Simply you can say it carries digested and absorbed fat from intestine and transports to the blood stream. And in the immune system, it helps in the immune system also. Immune system. It also helps in the immune system that it transports some foreign material for disposal. So sometimes it disposes of our foreign material. Foreign material is being disposed of by our lymph. So this is the major function. These are the three major functions. First major function is that it maintains the fluid balance. It transports the fat, and it acts in the it is helpful in the immune system. So this was the basics of this transport of this lymph or lymphatic system. You can also say it's a lymphatic system. So this was all about this lymphatic system. Now we'll shift to the transport or the circulatory system in human beings. Now transportation in plants. Thanks. The transportation in plants. Transportation in plants. The transportation of water, minerals, and food is necessary in case of plants. As we know, plants have no heart, no blood vessels, no capillaries, no lymph. So therefore, we need to study that how the food, the water, and the minerals are being transported inside the plants. So the water and minerals are absorbed from soil. Firstly, water and minerals are absorbed from soil. So initially the water and minerals are absorbed from soil by the help of roots of plants, and then they are transported to various parts like stem, levers. That means they are absorbed by roots. Then they are transported transported to stomachs, to levers, etc. of the plant. So the food is transported from levers for developing parts of plant, and in plants this transportation is done by a specialized vascular system which is made up of xylem and phloem. Vascular system. So the transport occurs due to this vascular system, this specialized system. Uh, Xylem, and second one is phloem. Now the xylem and how these are two conducting tissues. Now how the xylem transports water and mineral and how this phloem transports food, we'll see it in this lecture. Now for that we need to rub this hole. Now we'll understand the concept of xylem and phloem. Now we'll write a heading of transportation of materials via xylem. Same way we'll write transportation of materials via phloem. Now in case of xylem, water and minerals are being transported with the help of this xylem tissue. Transported with the help of xylem tissues, and food is being transported with the help of phloem tissues. Now this xylem, it transports water upwards from roots. This phloem, this transports water upwards. It transports water upwards from roots to the aerial parts of plants. Aerial parts of plants. In case of phloem, it transports the food upwards. Now it transports food in both upward and downward direction. Now in case of xylem, it transports. Now the transport in xylem occurs. Transport in xylem occurs due to physical forces. Due to physical forces like suction pull, or we can say transpiration pull. Transpiration pull. Therefore, we can say there is no need of ATP here. No ATP is required. No extra energy or energies required. Now, in case of phloem, the transport of in case of phloem occurs due to it requires energy simply. Its transport requires energy. That means ATP is required here. So this is the basic difference. Now we'll consider. Now we'll understand one term, that famous term, ascent of sap. What is that? So this was all about difference between xylem and phloem. Now the ascent of, before discussing ascent of sap, we'll we'll understand something about xylem basics, because it was also in the ninth class. So this xylem tissue, it is a tissue composed of four components. Tissue composed of four components are cells. First one is xylem vessels. Second one is xylem trichitis. Third one is xylem parenchyma. Fourth one is xylem vessels, trichitis, fibers. Xylem fibers. Now, these three cells are usually dead cells, and this cell is living cell. These dead cells, these are actually water conducting channels. Water water conducting channels. Now the xylem. Now in the xylem there is one more concept of this transpiration. Transpiration. But before discussing this, let's discuss this essence of sap. Well, that's important for this transpiration part. So the essence of sap is simply is a mechanism of transport of essence of sap. So it is the transport of water and minerals. जब हम वाटर और मिनरल्स को ट्रांसफर करते हैं फ्रॉम यूजिंग xylem against gravity, water and minerals to upwards routes usually against gravity by xylem tissue. Xylem tissue, it is known as essence of sap. That's essence of sap is it's the this term is most important term for understanding this transpiration. Now the transpiration is simply the loss of water because one xylem using this concept of essence of sap, it transports this water upwards, and this we can understand this figure also. Now these roots, they using the suction pressure, suction pull, or root pressure, or root pressure, they will suck up this water molecules. And once they suck up, suppose there is a leaf, one leaf here, it will take this water. During night, what happens, this water, due to high pressure, high transpiration pull inside xylem, it loses this water. So the loss of these water molecules is called transpiration. Simple. Now this transpiration, it's very important, and this loss of water occurs due to transpiration pull. Transpiration pull. So this is the most important topic. Now the transpiration. What is the function of this transpiration? So the transpiration help us. This transpiration help us to get rid of excess water or excess mineral, and it also helps in absorption and upward movement of this. So the functions of transpiration, functions of transpiration. So first thing is it helps for upward movement of water and minerals. It also brings to the picture this temperature regulation. So temperature control or regulation is very much important for a plant. And third thing is after it also helps in the absorption and upward movement of this water and minerals. It also helps to get rid of excess water. So excess water को बाहर निकालना, it's very important thing. So to get rid of this. And this is the basics of this transpiration. Now we'll move to the phloem. We'll understand its basics, what is phloem, and then we can move up to the its most important topic, that's called a translocation. Now the phloem is similarly, it is a tissue. It's made up of four components. Phloem is a tissue and it's made up of four components. That is sieve tubes. Second one is companion cells. Third one is phloem parenchyma, which we have written also, and phloem fibers. So same like xylem, but there is a little difference. So the first three are living cells. It's opposite of that. First three are living cells, and fourth one is dead cell. So this is about phloem. And now we'll understand a point about this phloem, that's called a translocation. Just like for xylem. So translocation is a term in which both upward and downward movement of food occurs via phloem. So both upward and downward of food occurs via phloem. Now in the phloem, since it's upward and downward movement, it's not having any physical force to get in, so it uses energy in the form of ATP. So therefore ATP is required for this, so it utilizes ATP. So this is the basic difference item in phloem, and this was all about transportation in plants. Thanks.